full evening.
Good.
All right, I think we're on.
Great. All right, so I was just looking at the directions to see, and I'm sorry, you're recording it now? Is that
Yeah, it's recording as a YouTube live video, but then I think that it'll save as a shareable link.
okay?
Okay.
All right. Did you guys get a chance to look at Class Dojo?
Yes.
I
Do
did
either of
also.
you, do you guys use that in the classroom?
I have not used it yet. How
Um,
about you? Have you used it before?
I've seen it used, but I've never used it. I work with small groups, so it's not something that would be necessarily good for me right now. But I can see it being a useful tool, definitely.
Mhm. Yes.
yeah, we use a similar tool. It's called Kickboard. It's it's very similar to Classroom Dojo, except it's not. I think it's more geared towards high school students. I'm sure it's used for elementary students too, but um, it's similar in that we have a whole list of behaviors for which our students can earn deductions, and there's a whole list of things that they can do to earn Wolfpack points, which is the reinforcement. Um, and I think one when I was looking between Kickboard and Classroom Dojo, the main difference I saw, at least a little bit, it was like Classroom Dojo had a lot of excellent animations, and I think it was really kind of active. It's kind of a cool interface for younger kids, and we don't really use those interfaces on Kickboard, but um, also the positive and the negative balance out in Classroom Dojo, and then our system they're two totally separate. So you just count the punishment or the deductions, and then the Wolfpack points are a separate entity, so it's not like a Wolfpack point gets rid of a deduction. So you kind of see both across. It's very useful for data collection, and it's unbelievably time consuming. I have to spend so much time managing that that application.
Some of these really are. You have to wonder, you really do have to weigh the positives
Mhm.
and negatives as to whether or not it's worth it taking the time
Yeah,
for some of them.
Yeah, I was going to say, Andrew, I read one of your discussion forums about the Woodpack points, and yes, it did seem very, very time consuming. So yeah, I was just curious, like if it was worth what the time that you're putting into it, because I would think you'd have to manage that daily.
yeah, no, it's daily. It's every day after the number of things I have to kind of enter is uh, it's I now I'm so much better at it than I was last year, and still now it's at least an hour a day of
Wow.
well, hopefully it's not quite an hour a day, but it's significant. Like it's logging everything from whether people turned in their homework to any kind of discipline, any kind of, and we want to do a lot of positive stuff. And then
Right.
you have to type in a little note for what it was positive. It's also where we record all of our like phone calls home and any kind of other correspondence. So it's a robust interface, but yeah, it's a lot. Last year, I think it just takes a lot of experience and like time management and planning and knowing. Like last year, I kind of did it willy nilly, and now I'm like, okay, like my first break, I sit down and I just do it until I'm done for a half hour and try to
Right.
move on. Um,
Oh,
but I
that's
don't
a
know.
lot of,
I don't know if the data is, um, and I'm still very kind of suspicious at the high school level of whether this kind of system works at all. For a lot of our kids, it's a game. They try to like not a game in a good way, like they're trying to get lots of Wolfpack points. It's a game in a bad way, like they're trying to get their friends as many deductions as possible.
Yep.
And, and yeah, I mean, 2 years in now, I don't see it as being an overall effective classroom management system. I'm curious, Colleen, what you do since you're also in a high school, and what kind of classroom management systems you guys have.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting that you would ask, because when you were saying that, I was thinking my classes are so different because I have honors seniors and then I have standard freshmen, and managing them is so completely different.
Yeah.
I don't think a point system like that would really actually manage either one of them very well. My honor seniors, their goal is grades, really. They want to do well in class. My standard freshmen, they want to be recognized for a good effort. So a lot of things with classroom management is like posting their work. I mean, it's just basic, simple stuff. Posting their work, turnaround time. As soon as they do something, posting their grade, they know how they did. That's where I get the most effective stuff.
And so you don't have any kind of like the classroom management is up to you as inside your classroom.
Yes, completely up to me. Yeah.
Now,
and different. Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry, Jennifer.
I was just going to ask if you're both in private schools. Or
Yeah,
are
I'm
you
in
both
public.
Public, okay.
Yeah.
Public. I'm public. Yeah,
I'm public in a public charter.
Okay. I just wondered if that made a difference and whether or not it's left up to the teacher to choose their own classroom management strategy, or if, it was kind of school-wide.
Oh, yes. I mean, our school definitely has sort of criteria and goals, but as far as my individual classroom, that's left up to me.
That's pretty much how it is at my school. Each classroom that you go into might have a slightly different system in place, which is good and bad. I mean, at the elementary level, consistency would be good for them.
Yes.
Since they're going up, a lot of times through that school, through K through 6. So that would be nice, but I think it's a matter of finding what works.
Yeah.
And it might be teacher personality too. One thing might work better for one than another.
Yeah. And then I've been a little cynical so far, but there are a lot of kids who it works really well for, and they like getting the positive reinforcement, and then they can use those positive reinforcement to we have like a school store where they can get things like movie tickets and I don't know, school like sweatshirts and different stuff, and so there are definitely kids who get into it and appreciate it. And it is pretty fabulous for data, because we have to use all of that data that gets entered with all those deductions and Wolfpack points. Then we have to analyze each week for our individual advisees. So I have 9 advisees, and I have to kind of look and see how they've been doing in all their classes. And it is a really useful way to kind of keep abreast of what students are doing in all of their classes throughout a week, culturally, I guess, behaviorally.
So I have 2 questions. Oh, go ahead, Jennifer. I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off.
No, you're fine. I was just going to say, it sounds like it's very thorough. The system that you have in place. Extremely thorough.
Yeah. I posted the list. I didn't really look at it, but in one of the assignments for this week, I posted the list of rules that we can mark deductions for, and it was like 40 things or something. It just kept.
Wow.
Well, I mean, for example, there's two different like uniform, just shirt untucked. Like if it's shirt untucked and you ask someone to tuck their shirt in and they didn't do it, it's, one level. And then if you see them later in the day and it's still untucked and you ask them again and they leave it untucked, it's another level. So they have like multiple levels of these different things. It's kind of wild.
We have something similar where we can report, I hate the word violation, but if they're not compliant with our school policies, we don't have it as structured as the system that you're describing. But so my two questions were, I feel very strongly. Are you guys still there?
You
Yeah.
cut out a little
Okay.
bit.
Okay, it looked like I lost you for a second. I do believe that data is extraordinarily important. My data-driven things are more towards scoring, and if they're performing, if I'm showing growth in the classroom. So I don't have to mark on what you're talking about, uniform codes and things like that, because we do have dress codes too, and behaviors like that. But the other thing you mentioned, you said advisees, and I was just curious what when you say you have advisees, what are you working with? You said you had 9, because that sounds very time consuming as well.
Yeah, it's one of the more time consuming parts of our and I generally like it as a philosophy. It's how they quote unquote make our big school feel small.
Mhm.
And so each teacher gets 9 to 14 advisees, and we're supposed to call their parents every week and have a really strong relationship with our advisee and the family. And when it works absolutely beautifully.
Right.
But again, I think it takes a tremendous amount of experience. It's not something that I see our young teachers being able to handle.
Yes.
They're overwhelmed with the responsibilities of like being at a new school and teaching a new course and just like getting the handle of it. Plus, and so I think it's wonderful, and I'm so much better at it this year than I was last year, just because I'm a year into the system and understanding it. And yeah, but it's and all that data then we use. So that we use the academic data that we're collecting, but also that cultural data when we like call families and
that's what I was talking about too. Very data driven. Of course, yes, it's test scores, but we actually record too when we have parent contact, things like that. So I can go back and look at whatever, and then the school can look at it too. So we can monitor that.
Yeah.
But I have not been charged with like 9 to 14 specific students to follow. It's just the ones that are in my room every day.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good program. It almost sounds like a mentor type thing, where you're basically like big brother mentoring these students in addition to your job. The hard part, I think, would be it's almost like having 2 jobs in one at that point. You're teaching your students that you have to teach, but now you're also responsible for mentoring these students. That seems like a lot.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot. And it's hard sometimes. It's hard to keep those 2 worlds separate. But yeah, keeps the days busy.
Yeah.
How long do you stay? Do you mentor them for the 4 years? Do you start them with like as freshmen and they stay with you till they graduate, or?
No, that would be kind of nice, but I got assigned a group last year and then a new group this year. So I've been assigned a group of 10th graders each year. But yeah, and I don't know how they pick. Maybe it's random.
Yeah, the reason at my school we do have an advisor group. It's not as detailed as what you're talking about. For me, my responsibility. But when they come in, they start with me, they finish with me, and then I start over with a whole new group. I mean, of course, people will come in and out, but I stay with that group the whole time.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
You can really develop a relationship that way with them and really be part of their lives. That's nice.
But again, like I said, I'm not having to do what Andrew's having to do. But yeah, so yeah, when we start advising a group, they stay with us.
Yeah. I looked briefly at our little rubric, and there's a little bit about comparing those other tools that they listed. I don't know if you guys looked at any of those other ones. most of them seemed like more work than they would be worth, especially
Yes.
now that I've been indoctrinated into a really sophisticated one that actually produces a ton of amazing data that we can use. Like when I clicked through those other ones, they looked really, I don't know, just not as sophisticated, you know.
I think for my grades, that's better for it not to be quite as sophisticated
Yeah.
because of, the more simple it is, the better when you're talking
Which is
about really, really young kids.
Yeah, and Classroom Dojo seemed great for that. It wasn't too complicated, but it gave you a lot of options and flexibility to make it more complicated if you wanted it to.
Yes. I actually recommended today to a teacher who's having problems with classroom management, the Too Noisy app.
Oh,
I don't know if you
know
guys had a
that.
chance to look at that.
That's the
It
one
is
I saw that I wanted to try for my
It is
work.
really neat. Like it actually does make the screen look like it's cracking, and you can adjust the noise level. So
Uh,
if the class gets to a certain noise level, it goes off and the room just goes silent because now they have become visually and audibly aware of how loud they've gotten. So
nice.
it's really, really neat.
Did you use it on your phone or a computer version?
I use it on my phone.
Yeah, I'm
But
gonna definitely try that. I've had so many problems with because all of our advisees, we have lunch together with them in a classroom. So it's 2 teachers, and then we have about 20 kids in there, and it's so loud, and I just can't handle it.
yeah, it's a great reminder.
Yeah, I'm gonna try it out.
That might be all it is just a reminder. But one of the teachers was comparing it to Pavlov's dogs, where basically they almost become indoctrined to like, this is how noisy we can get. And if we go just a hair over this, we set it off. So it's kind of a neat concept if you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But really the other ones, and that was the one that I thought was my favorite. I liked Teacher Kit also, but I don't know. Like you said, they're a lot of work. It's just, you already have so much, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. It's just getting used to it, like bringing it into your room is the hard part. Once you start using it, it's great, but it's just introducing it that's tough to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, definitely.
And Jennifer, remind me, what age group do you teach?
It's kindergarten through third right now. I'm working with small groups focusing on literacy skills.
Right. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
We have a very low literacy school. We're very behind. We've had principal switch every year for the last 5 years.
Oh wow.
So all the way up to our 5th graders, we are way far behind where we should be. So we're basically playing catch up now to go back and try to make sure that everyone's on level. When we went into the year, this last year, 80% of our first graders were below their expected level. And already halfway through the year, we're just under 50. So
Oh, great.
50%. So yes,
that's amazing.
Big improvement. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to be part of.
Yeah, I would think so.
Definitely.
Cool.
Do you guys have any other things? I know we don't have to be on here a really long time. I think she said keep it under 30 minutes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't even know. I can't see what time it is. I don't even know.
Yeah, we're over 20, somewhere in the 20s.
Okay.
So I think we covered some negatives. I mean, time consuming. Sorry, I'm looking down at my notes. You'd have to be really careful to find the right program that works for your grade.
Yes, I think Jennifer, I totally agree with you. I think that's key, and I think it changes constantly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe even your specific students. I mean,
yes,
some of these apps would work better for others than they would.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
It's definitely very specific, but I guess that's why there are so many of them, because I did notice she gave us a short list, but there are so many of these programs out there.
Yeah. I'm glad I was introduced through our school to Kickboard, just because it's in my kind of toolkit now. But Yeah, I think it would take a real commitment for an individual teacher. And I think some of them are really expensive. Like you can't even, like they're designed for entire schools to kind of buy into.
Mm-hmm.
The kickboard may be in that category.
Yeah, and I know our school is, they will buy certain things and let us try them. So yeah, I agree with that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's definitely another factor, I guess, cost for the school and
Mm-hmm.
cost for the individual teacher, because you're paying for so many things out of your own pocket already.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to pay for another program like this, that might not be the most cost-effective thing.
Mm-hmm. And if other teachers aren't using it, you start to lose that consistency, and kids, at least mine, don't respond well to that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's the advantage that we have, at least, that every teacher is on the same system.
Right.
definitely. I almost feel like you'd be better off no matter what grade level if the entire school followed one set system.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. I totally agree with you on that one, Jennifer.
I think we
even
covered
some of my seniors.
Yeah. Well, it's difficult for them too. I mean, especially if they're moving back and forth, we're a very transient school district. So we have a lot of students moving back and forth from one elementary school to the next. But if district-wide they stuck with a program, it would be, pretty seamless for the students as they move. Mm-hmm. So that would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we've covered our bases and had a good conversation.
So, I think so.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew, for setting it up.
Yeah, yes, I hope it works. We'll see. I'll let you know that. It says it's broadcasting, and I haven't tested it out to see what the post product looks like, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
And then when you post it to your page or you submit it basically as your assignment, will it automatically submit for us as well since we're linked in a group?
I believe so. We already have, there's already one link in there from a different group. And at least in my submission page, there's already a link. So I think it'll just we'll add our link to that Jenny will be able to grade.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Andrew and I, whenever we work together, thank you again for us working together, but everything he's ever submitted shows up on mine too.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Well, I like working with you guys because I get the other perspective from the kind of high school students. So it's nice to see all of it.
Yeah, likewise.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It's good to hear your perspective as well.
All right, well, thank you guys for taking the time tonight.
Yeah, you too.
Appreciate it. All right, have a good rest of the night, and I will see you Thursday.
Yeah,
sounds good. We'll see you Thursday. Bye, everybody.
Bye.